program for development of capacities. So it's my pleasure to briefly introduce to you EUFRO. And also I'll be talking about some of the different opportunities that we have for you to connect and engage. So I would just start by briefly sharing EUFRO's mission. This is to advance research excellence and knowledge sharing, and to foster science-based solutions to forest-related challenges for the benefit of forests and people worldwide. And to give you a little bit better feeling what that actually means, I would like to kindly ask Lawrence to share a short 3-minute video about EUFRO. And then we'd actually come back and talk about.
Fine.
Okay, and Marion is also here, but Brilliant and I will give the presentation. So Brilliant, can you hear me well? How are you doing?
Yes, I can hear you. It's a lovely Saturday and it's sunny here in Bonn, Germany. Hello to everyone. My name is Brilliant Jiko. I am a communications and administrative assistant here with.
For me, it's white, but if you give
it,
it's
white.
Okay, yeah, then we see it.
Okay, thank you.
Forests and trees are diverse and complex and cover about 1/3 of the world's land base. They grow in different climates and environments and on different soils. They come in all shapes and sizes, in groups or alone, have different needs, and offer various goods and services. The livelihoods of more than 1/4 of the Earth's population depend on forests. This is why scientists worldwide want to know more about forests and trees. They want to understand exactly how they grow, what makes them healthy, and how to use them. And they want to help them cope with impacts from an increasing world population and climate change. As forests and trees are often at risk of being harmed or lost. For these scientists, the International Union of Forest Research Organizations, EUFRO, has developed a global network for voluntary cooperation, open to all individuals and organizations dedicated to forest and forest products research and related disciplines. It offers opportunities to meet, work together, exchange ideas, access information, and present findings. This avoids duplication, fosters scientific excellence, and increases the visibility of research. Scientists, like forests, are very diverse. They have different interests and needs and work in different environments. EUFRO provides a convenient structure where they can fit in perfectly. 9 divisions with their research groups and working parties are the backbone of this structure. They cover overarching forest-related themes such as silviculture, management, genetics, pests and diseases, economics or social and policy issues. For cross-cutting key topics, EUFRO establishes task forces. EUFRO also offers capacity building for researchers from economically disadvantaged countries. It seeks to strengthen education on forests and increase cooperation with related scientific disciplines and stakeholder groups. EUFRO participates in global policy processes and provides scientific analyses for decision makers, always with a view to reaching the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Currently, EUFRO unites more than 15,000 scientists in almost 700 member organizations in 125 countries. Together, they contribute to the knowledge needed to ensure that all people benefit now and in future years from the economic, social, and environmental goods and services forests and trees provide. EUFRO, interconnecting forests, science, and people.
Thank you so much, Lawrence, for sharing that. Maybe shortly before I continue, anybody who is considering themselves somewhat familiar with EUFRO, maybe if you put a thumbs up, just so that I can get an impression what you guys know already about UFRO. And then if it's a first time talking about UFRO at all, maybe then we make it a party symbol. Is anybody just learning about UFRO for the first time today? Wow, so everybody knows, we have a few newcomers. Okay, that's great. So I'm going to continue with my presentation, but just as I do that, I want to make one important point about UFRO. It's mentioned in this presentation and also earlier by my colleague Andre, and that's that UFRO is a massive network with a very small headquarters. So we have, I think now in 128 countries, member organizations, and those are the public and private research institutes, like often the state forests or private research center, as well as universities, and many universities where you're maybe already studying or connected. So this network in the different countries is really the heart of UFRO, the core of our knowledge. And so a lot of opportunities are actually directly with our member institutions. Some are bigger, some are smaller. So even EFI or C4 would be members of UFRO, and you could check for internships or opportunities with them or with your local university or another one in another country. And then today I'll focus also on the special opportunities that are available as a partnership between IFSA and UFRO at the headquarters. But really the network is really vast, and if you're particularly interested in research, then going directly to our members where actually the knowledge is generated as part of UFRO is maybe an exciting opportunity for you. So I'll switch on my screen again. And I will just gloss over. It's actually a really big topic about all of how UFRO works, but just to give you an impression, these 9 divisions are working on specific topics. I'll come to that in the next slide. And then we'll have an example of task forces. We're actually combining knowledge from different subject areas. And also at UFRO headquarters, we have more close collaboration with some of the special programs and projects that are ongoing. So those are some of the main topics that I'll cover. And I always struggle with this slide, but I think it's important to show that UFRO is organized in difference to IFSA. It's really based on a specific thematic topic. So all of our researchers with a particular interest in silviculture maybe tend towards that division on silviculture. We also have, of course, for social aspects of forestry, for forest health or environment. And an example of how that works is that the researchers who are generally interested in that topic are all grouped into one division, but then it branches into subdivisions as part of our structure. So for the division 7 on forest health, for instance, there's actually 2 major groups. Some are working on entomology, and then the others are rather on the side of pathology. And within each of those divisions, then we also have working teams or groups. And so we call them working parties. And that's a very specific group, but they might have more common, they might all be working on a certain type of disease. So one is working on pine wilt disease, another one might be working on white pine blister rust, another one might be working on something else. So they could be working on 10 different kinds of pine diseases. We might have some working on 10 different kinds of spruce diseases. And then, so it goes in levels that you can be really, really specific, but also part of a broader group. And then what's really important is also these interdisciplinary task forces, which combine knowledge from the different specific regions and research areas that are ongoing. And one that has been really interesting and successful is the joint UFRO IFSA Task Force on Forest Education. This was founded around 2015 and has had a lot of activities over the years, especially pre-conference trainings, for example, to develop some of those generic skills, or we've had skills on scientific writing, on forest entrepreneurship, on leadership, and other things that maybe are a little bit gap in the forest curricula. This group also brings together researchers from different knowledge and expertise to talk about forest education and to generate collaboration. And I'll show you in the next part of my presentation that has actually sparked in the international forestry world a huge amount of momentum and interest in forest education that wasn't there before. And they are doing and promoting research activities. So one of the things that actually came as a spark from the joint task force was to have this joint IFSA IUFRO project on green jobs, for example, that actually mobilized the funding and the initiative and the objectives to start the research that was presented earlier today. So these kind of collaborations are really exciting to bring together students, bring together university professors. And in case you haven't yet seen the Joint Task Force publications, I'm going to drop a whole wall of them into the chat. Maybe my screen view changed here. There's a lot, so sorry for that, but they've got guides on entrepreneurship. They've made this fantastic book on building a successful forestry career in Africa. And I think there's a lot of resources that are relevant for other countries, like how to successfully apply for scholarships, what types of jobs or positions are available. So have a look at that. I will briefly touch on our programs and projects. These are special programs that actually foster the scientific collaboration and activities in our network. And so two of them are rather oriented towards forest policy and making science and research available to policymakers. There's also an exciting project ongoing by our GFIP program right now, a study on forests and human health. And they're doing a 10 years follow-up study on REDD+ implementation to see what kind of progress has been made, what changes have occurred, what challenges are on the way. So that might be interesting as well. And then I mentioned at the beginning that I'm the deputy coordinator of our special program for development of capacities. So that's a program that IUFRO has initiated in 1983. And it's to provide assistance for scientists from economically disadvantaged countries to actually be fully active in our network. So we offer training workshops for skills development, capacity building. We also offer sponsorships for researchers to travel and participate in IUFRO meetings. Also in the meetings of the smaller groups, like on pine wilt disease, a scientist individually could travel, or to some of our major events like IUFRO congresses and conferences. Then we have larger programs to support more scientists. And we have also ongoing a Young Scientist initiative that's not for students, but actually for early employed people. I know that it seems always a struggle as a student to access to funding and opportunities, but especially in some of the economically disadvantaged countries, once you're employed and you're in a position as a researcher, then the opportunities to continue with lifelong learning, to develop your skills, to network with international peers are really important. And IUFRO has a special niche in providing opportunities to those scientists. So we're very proud to do that. And I mentioned about the projects that came up from our collaboration on forest education over the past years. There's two in particular that I'd like to mention. One of them just concluded last autumn, and that was the Global Forest Education Project led by FAO, ITTO, and IUFRO. I don't know if anybody here managed to attend a forest education conference. Maybe you can put up your hand. It was hosted on Zoom last year. And there they announced this call to action on forest education, which is shared on my screen. But there was a lot of work behind that, and there's still more results coming. in the form of regional assessments and consultations with forest education experts, surveying students, and so on. And a really great success of this whole project was that there's now a joint initiative of the Collaborative Partnership on Forests, on forest education. So that's a huge kind of political momentum to support this important area for both IFSA and UFRO. We also have, as you know, the joint EFI IFSA UFRO project. The final event was mentioned by Juliet. And that project will conclude already in April, which is why we're having the final event. And one of the events we had already planned but was postponed was a workshop called Forest Skills to Pay the Bills at the upcoming World Forestry Congress. So we're going to do that in partnership with Forest Europe. And I will also drop in the chat the opportunity to join that event. So I hope you do. But the project in general, it was really of relevance for this job fair because we did all of this incredible research on forest employment and education and green jobs, but also we hosted 12 internships for trainees for 3 months, and these were also paid. And additionally, yeah, it had a lot of opportunities for capacity building and skill development as well. So now coming to the fun part. Has anybody heard of the UFRO Student Award for Excellence in Forest Science? If yes, maybe a heart. It's the nominations have thankfully just been opened. And what's exciting about it is that you have the opportunity actually to win a round trip airfare to the World Congress in Stockholm, Sweden. So UFRO, every 5 years, we have a massive kind of scientific conference called the World Congress. And there we have a number of different awards also for long-term scientific achievement and for doctoral research awards and so on. But for IFSA, I think particularly interesting is this UFRO Student Award. And there you can only be nominated. You can't apply yourself directly for the award, but through our special collaboration with IFSA, IFSA actually has the power through their secretariat or through their liaison officer, which is now the head of UFRO subcommission for IFSA, John Kimber, to nominate students for this award. And there's actually 9 winners, 1 for each of the UFRO divisions. So this is maybe why I mentioned also all these UFRO divisions, because you can see it's based on this thematic structure. So closest to your research interests, you can apply and maybe access that award. And the deadline is coming up next year, 15th of May. So you have almost a year. You can maybe still write your award-winning thesis and send it in, or have someone send it in for you to nominate you. And also the Best Poster Award, this will be decided much closer to the time. So there's no deadline for that yet, but they do have posters. You submit your poster to the conference, and then actually you present it, and the posters are judged on site. So these are maybe interesting chances to get your work seen. And we also have internships at the UFRO headquarters. There's one upcoming soon, so that's good. 1 or maybe 2. Every year, UFRO is offering 1 or 2 internships for students at the headquarters through this specific exchange with IFSA. We've also had the other internships through Dare to Explore and other programs, but specifically and only available to IFSA students is this 2-month internship opportunity. It will be in September and October of this year. We're planning to announce the call in the middle of April and probably close it in early May. So for that, you should definitely visit IFSA's internship page. Just to be clear, it's not posted yet. It will be posted in mid of April. So keep an eye out for that. And what would be probably some of the tasks that you're working on, we're planning to have some major meetings in September in Vienna. So you'd be working closely with UFRO headquarters team, actually regarding communications for the events and planning and preparation. We're also planning to have a UFRO board meeting in this period, so it would be quite an interesting time to be there. And I mentioned that there's a blog that you could look at from some of our previous trainees. I think we have lots of blogs over the years. But last year we organized something called the UFRO World Day event. That was a fully virtual event, so a little bit different from the one coming up. But one of our trainees from last year shared the blog. And I will just drop a few more links, the nomination forms and so on in the chat, so that you can find that. So there's a few more links to the awards, also to the internships, and maybe to get an impression about what it's like working at UFRO. If you have any questions, IFSA's person to contact about this is John Kimber. I'm not sure if I saw him online. He didn't think he was going to be able to join, but he said he'd drop in if he could. But definitely you can talk to him anytime if you have questions that aren't clarified about this. And I thought to put also a couple of examples. I tried to clarify at the beginning that in UFRO headquarters, we're not the heart of the research organizations. We're sort of an administrative unit. We facilitate a lot of networking that goes on in UFRO. That means that we have a lot of work to do with communications, with project management, strategic leadership. So the tasks of a UFRO intern are to support and get to know actually how this international organization is working. So it's a little bit of a chance to meet people from different departments, from the directors to the communications, even the finance or other aspects, to really see how that works. And just here I put some examples, like we had previous trainees support us with the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration launch. So coming up with some messages and visuals, also in planning this virtual event, developing flyers and sessions. So yeah, there's this kind of communication activities are quite often. And then also there's usually a little bit of collection and synthesis work to really understand the messaging behind, to communicate something, you need to know what it's about. So to gather the relevant information. And then we organize, anyhow, the organization regularly has meetings, as any organization does. But in the last years, we've particularly developed opportunities for our trainees to meet with the different units to understand their focus and what they're working on. For instance, my colleague Andre Pruitt, he mentioned that before he was working with our Global Forest Expert Panels program that specifically focuses on getting science into the policy community. My program, the Special Program for Development of Capacities, we're often working on the interactions between science and practice, so on the ground. And that gives you a chance to get to see the different sides and also maybe discover what would be of most interest to you. So there's a couple of exciting opportunities that I already mentioned, but there's always more coming up. So I would encourage you to follow us on our social media. And then you can really just keep in touch and join our activities when they're available. So thank you very much. And maybe we can open up for Q&A.
All right. Thank you so much, Janice, for that very comprehensive talk. I think you accidentally sent me the information via private chat, since I sent you a reminder regarding
because
the
you
time.
remind me. Thank you.
Yeah, so maybe you can send it again for them. And
Yeah,
again,
for sure.
thank you very much for introducing IUFRO to everyone here in the breakout room. So again, for everyone who have questions, let us now proceed with the Q&A session. If you have any questions to Janice here right now, you can raise your hand and I wait for you to call me, or you can type it in and I can read it for you. So again, if you have any questions, you can raise your hand and wait for me to call you, or you can type it in our chat box. So keep those questions coming.
Maybe just while you're thinking about it, I'm curious if anybody is interested in perhaps being nominated for an UFRO student award. And
I have a question related to that. Is that
yeah,
award related to undergraduate students or only for masters and doctoral students?
it's for masters and doctoral students. But I think the poster award is eligible for undergraduate students.
All right, thank you so much.
I would drop more, it's maybe like way too much text for a little chat, but I can drop some more detailed information into the chat so that people can see where they could follow up and find out more. Oh, I think it's forbidden for me to paste that much information in the chat. Yeah, but maybe just to cover it again, because I jump over, unless we have any question, the best, the UFRO Student Award for Excellence in Forest Science, it recognizes outstanding individual achievements in forest science made by master's degree students or equivalent, completed between 2018 and 2023. And it's in order to encourage further work in those fields of research within UFRO. So there's one for each of the 9 divisions. Then what you actually get when you win the award, you get a certificate, you get the round trip airfare and the travel, you get a waiver of the Congress registration fee, and the student award will be presented in a special session. So you'd actually have an opportunity at the Congress to showcase your research in front of an audience. And then there's also a number of like media opportunities related to that, showcasing the award winners. Yeah. So maybe I have a question for the group. Who's already tried some kind of practical experience or internship? Raise the virtual hand. I see we have one. We have Augustine, head of IFSS, 50th edition. Yeah, maybe Augustine could have some comment here. Actually, he was one of our most recent interns at UFRO headquarters, so he won't tell any lies.
Yeah, thank you, Janice, Andre, Juliet. I saw you here also. Also presentations, really nice to be here with you guys. And yeah, the experience of being in Vienna at headquarters with the IUFRO team was amazing. It was really nourishing in many senses to understand how different stuff work. It gets this different type of learning, as Andre was sharing, that is really important for professional life. It also gave me a lot of opportunities then to get the job I'm working right now. Being in these different environments with people from many countries. I believe in headquarters, the most is like 3 people from Austria, but the rest are all of them from different countries. And it was really awesome. They welcomed me really good with Mirjana. Also, we were both of us together there, and it was an awesome experience to be there, sharing the day-to-day life, the work. Everyone welcomed us like as we were part of the team since the first day, and yeah, it was actually a really awesome experience. I would recommend anyone to be a part of this awesome organization and take a part in every of the opportunities offered here. I really liked also this students award. I think it would be really nice, at least for here in Chile. It's really difficult to put your research on the map, and this could actually be a really nice opportunity for a lot of friends that spend years and years doing research. So yeah, actually, thank IUFRO for everything you've done for me and for everyone in IFSA and for the forest. So yeah, that would be my my appreciation. Thanks, Janice.
Thank you so much, Augustine. I see that Busirat has a question.
Not sure if Busirat is trying to connect his or her audio, since I checked the list of participants and there's no audio icon. So if ever, Busirat, can you send in your chat and I can read it for you? And maybe while Busirat is typing, I have a question for Janice, and someone sent me a private message. So as a UPRO is offering a lot of opportunities for a master's and doctoral students, are there any specific, what do you call it, programs for undergraduate students like me and the other Filipino students here in the breakout room?
Yeah, thanks for clarifying, because that's really important with this IFSA-UFRO relationship. Firstly, certainly the internships that I mentioned that will be opening in April and taking place in the autumn, those are available to undergraduate students. And also the poster award is available to undergraduate students. And then a lot of things are, mixed with our major events. So usually when UFRO organizes a conference, there's all kinds of things related to IFSA at a UFRO conference. So you might have a couple days before the event, actually a pre-congress training, perhaps organized by the Joint Task Force on Forest Education, maybe with some other commissions of IFSA and maybe other specialists of research from UFRO. And then there will be an opportunity for students to join, usually free of charge, and to participate in those activities. We often have also the mentorship activities that Andre hinted at earlier in the program. So we have event-based mentoring normally. Sometimes there's like peer-to-peer research mentoring. There's also more a strategic mentoring if you want to consider later becoming a UFRO office holder. And what else? Maybe I can get also Andre or Juliet or other colleagues or even Alex to remind me. But actually the core of our activities with IFSA usually interact with undergraduate students. Oh yeah, the technical sessions. IFSA usually organizes sub-plenary events, discussions, and helps to drive the agenda of all of our forest education related topics.
All right, thank you so much, Janice. I hope that person's question is answered. So if you have any follow-up, kindly send it to me or to Janice or to everyone so that they can see your question. I think Daniel is raising his hand, so maybe he has a question.
Yeah, hello. First of all, thanks a lot for the presentation. And I think I know a lot of people actually here. So hello, Juliet, and hello, Janice. I've met you also in Vienna and Elif, and Andrea in the IFSS. So very nice to see you again. I had a question, and actually it's very lucky that you all three are here. It could be a question to any of you, but I am from Costa Rica. I am 25 years old, and I already have my forestry bachelor's degree. And my question is, because now with IFSA that opens your mind to such an international scenario with exactly what we saw in Juliet and Andres' presentation before the breakout rooms. I've been looking a lot in, for example, this kind of internships or possibilities. And what has your experience been regarding, I think it's most of facts, like now with the virtuality, with the virtual scenario, it's a bit easier. But for example, when I see this internship that Janice was speaking about, that's going to be released, like the expression of interest in April, the first thing that comes to my mind is like the visa or the not having the European passport or this type of passport. It doesn't have to be Europe necessarily, but whatever country. So my question for you is, in your experience, how would you approach this type of I don't want to say that it's an obstacle, but this kind of a requisite that they ask of you? Because, for example, if I'm very interested in this internship in Vienna, how do I know that I'm even eligible to do it without an European passport? Or how do you approach that kind when you see a very cool application in the whatever organization, and then you want to go for it, but you don't even know how to approach it regarding this? I wanted to ask your opinion in what do you think, and what would your advice be in this scenario?
Mm-hmm. Thanks so much for the question, Daniel. I think it's a really important one. And I mean, just upfront about the IFSA internship that we have at IUFRO in Vienna, we very specifically for many years, we make sure that we have the selection process already concluded 3 months before the start of the internship. So in our experience, that has been sort of a reasonable time frame for anybody to get a visa to travel to Vienna. So that's our experience specific to that one. Of course, we know that the world is changing and that there's a lot of specific regulations for different countries, especially regards to the COVID pandemic or other situations. And these are always evolving. And there's really quite a unique case every time. So it depends on the destination country. It depends on the country that you're coming from. So my advice would be always to go for it, just try. I personally had a really positive experience when I came to IUFRO. I'm not a European, I'm a Canadian, and I'm from the west coast of Canada, which is 5,000 kilometers from our embassy, which I know a lot of countries have similar situation, that they even don't have an embassy in their country, or they have a really long ways to go, or maybe you're in the capital city, but it takes a very long time to process the papers, and it's this circular process. So I think it's really important to apply, to start the process, to usually actually international employers are quite supportive in trying to offer the correct documentation, to give you whichever kind of confirmation letter or something that you might need to go. And actually that's a nice reason to apply for an internship abroad or something, because then you actually would have the additional support, hopefully, of your employer. And sometimes they can create an opportunity for you to maybe study or work abroad that you wouldn't have otherwise had just as a tourist visa. But I'd be happy to let my colleagues come in if they have other suggestions.
Maybe I can, Janice, because you invited. So no, I just wanted to mention that, of course, with the IFSA internships, we have recently, of course, also done virtual internships for before Augustine and few. We tried that, and it worked out somehow that also the participant was not here, but was, for example, in Japan or in South Africa. So this is definitely possible in these times. But regarding these international organizations, in case you are looking for some internships, I think many of them have this status as UN organizations, United Nations. So they do have some easier procedure to get people to the country of their headquarters. It can be somehow that it's not the usual procedure that you would just go when you are as a tourist go somewhere. So I think there are so many aspects, and it's very specific case by case, as Janice said. So.
I hope that somewhat answers your question. I mean, the other thing I could say is that you can you can always check your government's regulations. So one thing that I really encourage in general when applying for scholarships or internships or whatever is to check the eligibility criteria. So it would be a good sort of use of your time, firstly, to focus on the job announcement and description and make sure it matches your interests and that you have the necessary criteria for that job. But also you could do a quick check if it's especially related to travel concerns or so on, that in case it really seems unlikely that you could go, that then you invest your time in one that seems more likely.
I hope your question is answered, Daniel. Do you have any follow-ups before we proceed with Augustine's question?
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Daniel. So Augustine, would you like to ask your question?
Yeah, I would like to ask a short question that is like Janice said in her presentation, the heart of IFSA of IUFRO is not in the headquarters mainly, but on the network that they have built. So is there any way that, or any place which we could check to actually access these opportunities instead of, because headquarters are really small, but IUFRO is huge. So even research opportunities or other member organizations, internships or opportunities in that sense, like how can we access the network to access this like bigger picture?
Thanks for the question, Augustine. That's actually something I'm a big advocate of. I don't know if it's just me stalking people's websites, maybe it's an old generation, but basically we can provide a link. The IUFRO website, it has a couple of things. So one, it has a list of the members. So you can look at the country you're in or the country you want to go to and see which are the members. And then that itself is, you don't know anything about the internships, but if you then go to the institution's pages, a lot of them do have information about their ongoing projects. There you don't only see like which researchers and which departments in that institution are involved. Also, you see who's funding the project, who are their knowledge partners, what kind of stakeholders are involved. And if you're really keen on a topic, you can actually quite quickly see a much bigger network of opportunities. So I would really, really advocate for doing that. And then otherwise, yeah, to look at Euphros projects. If you're really passionate about a certain topic, it's usually people are passionate about a country or a topic somehow or region. So you can look at it both ways. But as much as websites are maybe not most exciting thing to visit, it really often is a place where organizations are posting about their kind of job opportunities. I think they also try to distribute through social media, of course, but if you check in on those ones that might suit you, I think that's a good idea.
Thank you, Janice.
All right, thank you so much, Agustin. Alex manifested that Erasmus Mundus takes students from almost every country of the world. So I've heard of this scholarship. So you can apply for it. I think the host company for this year is Germany. So correct me if I'm wrong. There's also a somehow joint a scholarship that's offered in Erasmus Mundus. So if you'd like to, for example, study in Germany for 2 years, then choose from between France or Hungary, I think. You can change into that university. So do check it out. I've seen their programs. It's very interesting. All right. I'm very sorry, Juliet. The breakout room's closed. So maybe you can just type it in and Janice can read it afterwards.
No problem. It was actually a general comment. I just wanted to commend IUFRO for the opportunities that they give to young people. I have seen a lot of young people develop through this opportunity.